So it's a pleasure to, Joe, this is the first time we're meeting in person, right?
I know, it's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
finally.
We've been working together for what, like a year and a half, almost 2 years now?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, since you guys kind of started Fulfill.com, really. So
Yeah.
So for maybe people that aren't familiar, why don't you tell us what is that?
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Joe Spisak. I am the CEO of Fulfill.com, and this is my business partner and best friend, Dan White. And we started Fulfill.com a little bit over 2 years ago, and really essentially what we do is we connect e-commerce brands with the right warehousing and fulfillment partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys are doing a great service out there, and obviously you have the community too, which I think is a fantastic thing, and you've just been able to kind of create this great community around that and provide these resources for the 3PLs and really those kind of like small boutique 3PLs that kind of need that help and need that push as well. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about the show?
It's been great so far.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
This is Dan and I's first event. Like, we have always had so many other things to do that this was like doing events was kind of last on the priority list. But we actually came out here with our partners, Rufus Labs and Pacquiao, and a couple other folks that we've worked pretty closely with over the last couple of years. So it just made sense for us to come out and shake their hands and finally meet them in person. And then, I don't know, yesterday we didn't even eat lunch yesterday. We probably talked to 75 plus people, that same scenario, we've worked with for the last couple of years, and that makes it all worth it. So now getting to meet you, man, this is all my boxes are checked now. I can go home after
put the cherry on top right here, right? Yeah. And I saw you put Nicholas in a headlock.
Yeah, I did.
Gotta watch out with that.
Yeah, they kicked me out early yesterday, but I snuck back in. So.
Yeah, so I'm curious, I mean, from a 3PL perspective, right, how would you, because you had a 3PL before, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when you come to a show like this, or maybe a 3PL that's at home listening or something and wondering, like, if coming to a show like this is worth it, I mean, what advice would you give them on that front?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's 100% worth it. I mean, for me specifically, it's to get in front of partners and people that you've worked with in the past and just kind of solidify those relationships and kind of put a face to the name and get dinner and, of course, a couple of drinks. That definitely helps. But it's just a wealth of knowledge here as well. Like, we have had, I'd say, more limited chance to actually walk around and kind of tour everything, but what we have seen is incredible. This is like robotics overload for me. Like, I could stop at every single one of these booths and stay for like an hour, but
absolutely. But I think just like the side-off conversations, talking with other 3PL owners, talking with people that are innovating in the industry, there's things that you don't get when you work from home all day long and you get to be here and talk to other companies that are trying new things. It's a great way to kind of expand the horizons of what you can do as a 3PL and see how your peers and the people that you strive to be are operating on a daily basis.
Exactly, and we're in a blue-collar handshake, trust is king industry, so it's like you need to get in front of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such great advice, and I think too, because I mean, I talked to a couple of 3PL friends, are you going to MODEX? You're going, like, oh, not sure, too busy kind of thing. And I'm curious what you think in terms of, how should, because you've been here now, right? And you see just the scale of the show and everything. I mean, it could be overwhelming, right, to see the amount of technologies here. Yeah, I mean, how would you advise from like your experience and working with some of these technology partners too, for a 3PL to kind of navigate that and maybe not get lost by the shiny object in a sense, or what to be looking out for here in terms of like a technology perspective?
So for us, I think what was really helpful was doing a good amount of front end work to actually set up, do some research, see who's going to be here, and then make a candid effort to try and link up with people and actually set some meetings that we knew would be able to bring value to us and our organization. Mm-hmm. So to new 3PL owners that are coming here, or just 3PL owners in general, I highly recommend looking through the guest list, see who's going to be here. Do some DMs on LinkedIn and
slide in DMs.
Slide into the DMs, and then more often than not, people are going to be more than happy to come, let you chat with them for 15 minutes. So just be proactive on the front end, I'd say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's something that we saw Rufus Labs do really well. One of our partners was do cold email outreach to the targeted list that they wanted to talk to, and yesterday they had 75, 100 people just coming up to their booth on rotation. So it's that pre-work in advance that I think is really helpful, because otherwise, I was talking to somebody that we were supposed to see on Monday, and they didn't get through Exhibit Hall A over to B and C because you can just get lost in the sauce out there looking at every single thing. So coming with intention, but also your eyes open to what's going on, I think is a good mix.
Right. If you're a 3PL and you're having trouble in X, Y, and Z area, if you need help with your carrier rates or you need help with warehouse automation, it's very easy to look through the directory, the app here, mark off a couple companies that know their stuff, and kind of, again, like Dan said, be intentional about your meetings here.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's great advice too. And I mean, as you look at the landscape out here, and I think it's, you mentioned all the robots and stuff, you can totally geek out on those and just spend so much time there. But from a 3PL perspective, I mean, as you're talking to these 3PLs that are in the Fulfill.com network and community and just friends in general, I mean, where are they in their heads in terms of thinking about some of these more maybe advanced solutions that we see here, like some of the robots and things like that? I mean, are they really thinking that it's time for them to invest in that, or are they still kind of trying to figure out some other processes before that?
That's a really good question, and like you said earlier, we work with a lot of boutique level 3PLs, but we work with, the big dogs as well. And, like we have 3PLs on our network, like Nimble.ai, if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah, I've had Jonathan on before.
Yeah, Jonathan, he's the man, and their whole 3PL is centered around automation.
Fully automated,
It's fully automated. So in terms of the boutique 3PLs on our network, I would say some of the smaller guys, they're just not ready and not quite to that point yet. They're working out other kinks in their operations, trying to get their tech right, trying to get their customer acquisition right, labor management. There's 100 other things to worry about.
Yeah.
And then, throwing robotics in too early on is just an extra layer of management that has the opposite effect of what you want it to have if you try and jump the gun on that.
I think before you even get into the robotics discussion, for the most part, it's really being able to understand your data from all the different levels that it can come in to see what the actual return is going to be on the investment that you make for robotics. We hear the return period tossed out 2 years, but some say it's going to take 20 years, and that number is going to differ for each 3PL. And before you can even understand the data, your operations have to be in sync. So I think that as a boutique, one of the biggest bonuses of that is the customer service that you get from them. And I think before maybe introducing or maybe taking too big of a jump in the robotics space, it's to focus on the things that are done well. And once you have the baseline, the data, the customers, start to layer in the robotics piece as well.
Right, and we can also point out the fact that there's a massively different level of robotics as well.
Very
too,
true,
right?
I think there's all different levels to it as well. I mean, I recently talked to Webster Fulfillment too, who's using Locust.
Yeah, they use
right?
Locust.
They
Yep.
do a great job.
So I think it's all different types of things there, and I'm curious as you kind of look around here. I know you guys have been swamped at the booth and all those things. Putting Nicholas in headlocks. I mean, that keeps you busy, right?
Yeah, I've been sweating all day wrestling everybody coming in.
So I mean, as you look around though, I mean, what kind of technologies here are standing out that you think okay, the 3PLs in your community, they really need to know about these, and they really need to start to look at these, and that would make a big difference for them? Yeah,
that's a good question. Because I keep thinking about some of the really flashy stuff out there right now that it's wow.
I just saw a robot give somebody a fist bump on the way in.
Yeah, so exactly. Now I'd love to see that in the actual warehouse.
Pretty chill robot.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a warehouse dapping people up as they're walking by over there. I was like, wait a second, is this where we're at now? So that was pretty cool. But in terms of must-haves for 3PLs, I come back to the basics that. Maybe for boutique 3PL. So there's some great warehouse management system vendors here. So that's obviously kind of the core of what you're going to need to get right before you can start effectively scaling your e-commerce fulfillment center. Shout out to the Pacquiao team, who is relatively new by WMS standards, when there's been a lot of other players that have been around for years and decades, but they've been crushing it from an e-commerce fulfillment technology perspective. And then you start to move up into different layers of technology as well, like Rufus Labs and their wearable barcode scanning technology, which we see whenever boutique 3PLs are on our network and they want to start increasing their pick time. Rufus has been a really great option to be able to lessen your receiving time, increase your order accuracy. They have a whole labor management suite. So stuff like that, less the fist bumping robots and more the peanut butter and jelly of what you need to do well to put stuff in boxes and ship it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, you want to add anything there?
Actually, nothing else to add to that. I think that Joe hit it on the head. Honestly, haven't had much time to take the rest of it in at this point. So
yeah, I think that's fantastic, and I agree. I mean, I think those it's almost those like little in between things that need to be tweaked and perfected. As Dan, you were saying, kind of building that foundational processes and things like that to be able to then start to think about maybe some fist bumping robots to
exactly.
Pump up the staff a little bit, right?
What have you seen? Have you seen anything that's really stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's very interesting because I agree with you. We talked to Rufu, we talked to Gabe yesterday on the podcast, and with their VR Williams too as well. And I think what they're doing is fantastic because you do get the barcode scanning, right? But then the Work Hero system,
exactly.
I mean, it just adds that labor management system that I think is so critical to be able to really get that visibility and see that. So I think the companies that are doing things like that and focusing on the software side and allowing you to have further visibility into what's really going on in the operation, I think is really the key right now. And then foundationally, like, you can build on that and put those building blocks on top, right? Because I mean, if you take a bad process and you automate it or throw a robot at it, you're just making your bad process faster, right? Yeah, I mean, so it's like
spot on.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. And then the people that are focused on like the data cleanup and getting data organized and things like that to be able to help support that and boost that more, I think is really a great thing as well. And then in terms of a shiny object perspective, I think like the truck loading, container unloading stuff is crazy. I worked in an operation before. We were doing, 8 containers floor loaded a day, and that was like the worst job in the operation. And I'm just so happy to see that getting automated.
I know. I just see that, and I just think how much time and headache and how much better the morale would have been at the 3PL that I was running if we would have had that.
Yeah.
On these 90-degree summer days, something's wrong with the AC, and we're like, oh, here comes a container at 6 p.m. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst job in the warehouse, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see that stuff. So those are kind of my thoughts, but I appreciate you guys coming by the booth here. And if you're not on the fulfilled.com community, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Get on there, definitely. But yeah, if people want to get in touch with you guys, what's the best way? Fulfill.com?
Yeah, fulfill.com. Dan and I are both pretty active on LinkedIn. So my name's Joe Spisak, and then this is Dan White. We're both from fulfill.com. So if you need help finding a new 3PL, or you're a 3PL that's looking to fill up your location with your ideal customer profile, definitely reach out.
All right, boys. Thank you so much for
thanks.
stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
Good to finally see you in person.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Let's connect a little later, too.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.
All right, cool.
All right, thanks.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, The New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesAreSexy.com and get your own.